Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. It's Terry, your host. I actually took Jack off the passenger seat because B likes to get in there, but she doesn't sit there a lot, especially when the truck is moving. But lately she's just come up there and just stared at it like, why the F is this snowman in my seat? So anyway, I'll put him back later. So I'm here in Texoma, Oklahoma. The border with Texas is just like right over that way. At the Loves. I'm actually on my way up to the Denver area to what's the name of that town we're going to? I can't remember. But I'll think of it in a minute. But I picked this load up on Saturday right after I dropped another load, like 1.5 mile transit to my 01 from the 90. And at the time I took the load, it said, pick it up at 11 o'clock on Saturday, and it's due in the Denver area on Thursday morning. And I was like, I immediately got a message, are you good with the pre-plan? And I was like, not exactly. I mean, it's like around 900 miles, but it's 4 days of, to do it in, or 3 full days. I mean, that's not a lot of driving per day. And so they were like, well, it says you can deliver it early, and they have overnight park, and they'll try to work you in. So I was like, all right, well, my plan is to deliver it on Wednesday and just see what happens. Now, I will say this, Lyle has talked about this a bunch of times, and I very much agree with him. I don't focus on a given week because, whether or not a load gets paid one week versus another. I mean, there is a time value of money issue, but it's negligible, and I definitely would not refuse a load just because it wasn't going to get on a certain pay week, and so, or accept a load that I really hated for the same reason. But I was like, all right, well, I'll see if I can deliver it early because I am in the hole, or I was in the hole last week, and I'm like, one more load this week probably would be good. And so it's turned out even better than I thought it would, because now I got a confirmed appointment for tomorrow, and I'll probably even get there early for that. And they want this load, yesterday, really. So I drove like 530 miles today, and I should be up there tomorrow mid-morning, so we'll see. So that's that. Today's October 30th. A lot of interesting things happened on October 30th. On this day in, I don't even know what, I could probably figure it out. On this day, John Adams, our second president and father of our 6th president, John Quincy Adams, was born. John Adams born on this day, President numero dos. He, as you may know, he died. It's always easy to remember his death date because it's July 4th, exactly 50 years after the Declaration of Independence was promulgated. And of course, he shares a death date with, an exact death date with Thomas Jefferson. They both died on the exact same day, exactly 50 years after the Declaration of Independence was signed. And, these guys were professional competitors. They weren't in the same political party. But as the years passed, they became closer and closer through letter writing. Of course, Jefferson was living in Virginia at Monticello, and Adams lived up in Massachusetts. But they wrote to each other frequently. And, shared a lot of thoughts about a lot of very interesting things. Also, James Monroe died on July 4th. but not in 1826. 3 presidents have died on July 4th. So that's John Adams. On this day in 1960, one of the great football players ever, Diego Maradona, was born. He's Argentine, and he was born on this day in 1960. He's definitely he might still be considered by a lot of Argentinians to be the greatest ever player from that country, even though Messi is a phenomenal player. He's not playing in Miami, by the way, but Diego Maradona was just like phenomenal, took the world by storm, huge deal. And if you ever paid attention to professional soccer. What else happened? Oh, on this day in 2018, Whitey Bulger was beaten to death at the federal penitentiary in West Virginia. What's the name of that town? It's actually just, this is another little interesting tidbit. You know the rest area on I-68, just as you come out of Maryland and go into West Virginia, there's this West Virginia rest area right on the top of a mountain. You gotta chug up there. If you go in there and park and you walk to the back of that, especially at night, it's easy to see because there's nothing else out there that's lit up, but you'll see a big group of buildings. That's the federal prison, and that's the place where Whitey Bulger was murdered. It was kind of weird. His family has sued the Justice Department, the Federal Bureau of Prisons, because he was moved from a very secure facility where there was not a lot of danger to that prison in West Virginia, where it was heavily populated with ex-mobsters, and there was a contract on his life because he turned state's evidence and then, was on the lam for so long. So there was a contract on his life, and these guys, one of the murderers apparently has been charged. He got out of prison, was involved with murder and Bulger, got out of prison, and evidence has come out that he was involved. They used locks, padlocks. So yeah, I think, my trailer's locked. I don't have an example. They use padlocks, I think padlocks and chains, and just beat the crap out of him. He was an old man too, but hey, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. That was in 2018. In 1974, the Rumble in the Jungle. I was thinking about this fight just recently, but Muhammad Ali, the greatest, he fought George Foreman, knocked Foreman out. But here's the interesting thing about that fight. And I think there's a documentary, or maybe I saw a documentary of Ali's life, but Ali went to, and it was in Kinshasa, Zaire, which is now the Republic of the Congo. But, or Republic, I think it's Republic of Congo. But it was in Kinshasa, Zaire at the time. And what Ali did was, he was masterful, because both he and Foreman went there to, before the fight, and they trained a little bit there, and it was a big international event. And Ali went and basically lived in a neighborhood with just regular people, and he hung out with regular people, and he worked out in a gym that was in just this neighborhood, where kids off the street would learn to box and stuff. And he would train in the neighborhood. And so he was followed around by people. He was like a man of the people. Foreman, on the other hand, comes to Kinshasa and checks into like a really nice hotel that those local folks wouldn't even be let into. And so when the fight happens, the the folks from Zaire were just like, they loved Ali, right? Because they felt a connection to him. He was one of them, and it was a great way to get the crowd on his side. He was very, very smart at what he did. What else happened on this day? Trying to think. Oh, 2003. LeBron James debuts for the Cavaliers. And if you're keeping score at home, LeBron James is still playing. He had 20 years. He's, I don't care what you think of LeBron, right? You can't deny that the guy's a phenomenal athlete. I'm sorry. You could hate him or whatever, but he's a phenomenal athlete, and he's a surefire Hall of Famer, and what else can you say? I mean, he's done a lot. Is he the greatest ever? I don't know. I mean, it's all conjecture, right? It's opinion, but it's still pretty impressive. So anyway, I think that's a good wrap up of October 30th. So I was talking to a fellow driver, and they said that they had seen I guess the minutes, and maybe that's I'm using that term loosely, but the proceedings of the most recent driver advisory board, I don't know what they even call those, semi-annual conference, DAB junket, boondoggle, I don't know what you call it, but anyway, Love Fest. So one of the things that was on there that he mentioned to me, and I'll go back and look at it, but he said that apparently the issue came up at DAB that at this meeting, that Wilson drivers should basically use their own facilities in Springfield because there's crowding at the main Prime terminal, especially around like the Millennium Building, and that there's these Wilson bobtails in there, and they got their own nice, actually brand new facility just a little bit east on 44, I think like one exit down from 65, the US 65 interchange there, and they should use their own facility. And I was like, first of all, I don't go to Springfield very often. I was supposed to be there this week, but I'm doing a little experiment, and maybe I'll get into that later. But yeah, I mean, of all the times I've been in Springfield, and I think the last time I was in Springfield was in May, but I haven't ever said to myself, oh man, you can't swing a dead cat in here without hitting some Wilson, tractor that's taking up space for one of us real Prime people. And so I don't even know that it's like that big of a deal. Like, I can't ever remember being there in the almost 2.5 years I've been at Prime, where I was like, oh, there's even a dozen Wilson trucks here. I mean, a couple here, couple there, but not a significant amount in the grand scheme of things in parking there. I just never sensed that there was a significant amount of parking space being taken up by these Wilson guys. That's the first thing. But the second thing is, what about, and I'm learning more every day, so apparently Wilson is considered a premium contractor. So you have like different levels. Premium, and I guess that's based on the size fleet. And then you have the A fleet, right? Which are typically like guys with maybe just one or two trucks, but they have their own operating authority. And then you have the bigger ones like, I think GLC maybe. They're like all letters. BLT, GLC. The bigger outfits. There's a couple others. One is like they have the pine trees for their logo. But anyway, Wilson is probably the most well-known of the premium, companies. And, I said to this other driver, I said, it's already bad enough that Wilson drivers are doing, essentially, they're doing the same thing I'm doing, except they're doing it for less. Because I guess the premium companies get 90% of the line haul from Prime, but then I think they give their drivers, I think Wilson gives 72% of line haul, except the line haul is only 90%, not 100%. So it's 72% and 90. Which means, and the reason I knew there was this discrepancy is because I talked to this Wilson driver one time, and I talked to her at the 01, and then we picked up the exact same load, took it to the exact same place. I departed the 01 about a half an hour before her, and she got to the 90 about a half an hour after me. And then we compared, and it wasn't like, we were just talking, and I was like, well, how much did you make on this load? And she told me it was about $200 less than I made. It was a load from Salina, Kansas to outside of Atlanta. So anyway, I'm like, well, all these other contractors, right, are using the facilities, A-Fleet, premium contractors, obviously contractors like me and most of us, right? And so I'm like, why are they treating Wilson like they're some huge issue? It just seemed unfair to me. It's like, why do you care? And here's the other thing, notwithstanding the fact that I just don't see the numbers. I mean, I guess if you want a parking spot and you need one parking spot, it's really easy to key on the Wilson people. But, I see these other companies taking up space. And, part of the problem at Prime terminals is that a lot of trailers take forever to get fixed, which means they don't even get, back on the road and out to places that have, extra trailers. But the other thing that's going on, at least the last few times I've been to terminals, probably the last 20 times I've been to terminals, is that we compete at every terminal for parking space with Pedigree. And you could say, oh no, well, Pedigree's trailers are put in this other area, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. But it's still, there's still X number of parking spaces at a terminal. And there's X number of parking spaces for trailers, X number of parking spaces for tractors. And, so even if I drop my trailer and I got to drive all over, I guarantee that everything's within walking distance, right? Like Stephen Wright says. But like the area that's by the open field, that's, right by the interstate there, that area is routinely populated by some of these other premium contractors. Like there's a bunch of their trucks parked there, but also Pedigree trucks and also Success trucks, like new trucks that have come in. They're all over the place too. So, I just feel like this focus on Wilson, and maybe it is on the other premium contractors and I just missed that piece. But regardless, it's you know, it's ill placed. It's just, that's not the problem at the terminals. Okay. There are other ways to get, you know, better parking space. I mean, I don't understand, you know, because Prime has space in other parts of town, right? Now, I don't think that's necessarily true in Salt Lake City or Pittston. But Pedigree, for example, and I'm not trying to pick on them, but they're running a car dealership. They're running a truck and trailer dealership. And they're not moving very much right now because there's a huge glut of used equipment. If you've been by any you know, auction houses lately, you know, auction places lately, you'll see like a butt ton of trailers and tractors, and you know, these lots are filled up, right? Ritchie Brothers has, you know, I the last one I remember going by is the one in Morris, Illinois. They got to have close to 60 tractors and probably at least that many trailers. And every place is like that. The PACCAR financial place right there in Minooka. I can remember when that lot had like a smattering of trucks, and now it's like jam packed with KWs and Peterbilts. So I understand why, you know, Pedigree doesn't have, you know, why there's not any extra space. But I know that Prime has other property. I mean, I don't think it would be that unreasonable to clear out at least some of the tractors and put them somewhere else. You know, put them on just a gravel lot somewhere, and then, you know, drive somebody over that's coming to look at trucks. But I think picking on any drivers that are contractors, whether it's their company's a contractor or they're a contractor, you know, it just doesn't seem fair. It just seems like, and it seems divisive, right? It seems like it's creating a situation where those drivers will not be, you know, they won't be happy with other Prime drivers. So hopefully it gets rectified in a way that's totally equitable and doesn't single out a group of drivers that, like I said, in my estimation, is not really the problem. So anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.